No one said anything, the Mass continued, but the priest. He just stared at her with an intensity that chilled the blood of anyone who noticed. This isn't a movie, but what many don't know is that events like these, frightening and impressive, happen closer to home than we can imagine, revealing a side of the Church it doesn't reveal. An exorcism, yes, an exorcism, took place right there, so silently that most didn't even notice. Do you want to understand what the Church truly allows in these moments? Before continuing, please write in the comments the names of people and relatives who need prayer. All these names will be lovingly added to the main prayer with the weekly rosary. The morning had begun like any other Sunday. An old church, the pews full, the aroma of incense wafting through the air. Donna Beatriz, a quiet lady, always dressed in blue, took her usual place. No one noticed anything strange when she arrived. The bell rang, Mass began punctually, and Father Roberto, a man with a calm voice and serene presence, ascended the altar. The singing of the faithful filled the church, all was peaceful and routine. But in the first 20 minutes of Mass, as the Gospel reading began, an almost imperceptible change occurred. Donna Beatriz, previously bent over in prayer, began to have small spasms. Her hands trembled on the edge of the pew, and an incoherent whisper escaped her lips. It seemed like a common faint, a fainting spell caused by age, and the few people around exchanged worried glances. Mass continued. Father Roberto, however, was not an inattentive man. His eyes, which seemed to search the soul of each faithful during the homily, lingered for a moment on Donna Beatriz. It wasn't a look of fright or judgment, but of deep, even somber, recognition. He continued his sermon, but his voice took on a firmer tone, his words seeming to be directed at something beyond ordinary ears. And that was when the phenomenon intensified. During the Creed, when the Church professed faith in unison, the woman in the third row shuddered violently. Her head shook in denial, and her eyes, which had previously wandered, fixed on a distant point, filled with unspeakable pain and hatred. A chill ran down the spines of those nearby, but no one dared interrupt the sacred celebration. It was a silent confrontation, visible only to those with eyes to see. The tension increased dramatically when it came to the consecration, the central point of the Mass where the bread and wine become the body and blood of Christ. The silence in the church was almost absolute, except for the priest's voice. And it was in this moment of profound reverence that Donna Beatriz struggled. A low moan, barely audible but filled with agony and aversion, shattered the silence. His muscles twitched, his nails dug into his palms, and his body arched slightly backward, as if trying to escape an invisible force. The nearby faithful flinched, but out of respect for the mystery, they remained in their seats, albeit with bated breath. Most in the church remained oblivious, mesmerized by the priest's voice and the majesty of the rite, but some felt the heavy air and an inexplicable sense of fear. And it was then that the priest acted. Without deviating from the rite, without uttering a single word beyond those prescribed, he performed subtle gestures, yet charged with spiritual power. During the Our Father, he extended his hand toward the congregation, and, almost imperceptibly, held the palm of his right hand slightly turned toward Donna Beatriz, a blessing charged with intention directed toward her. As he uttered the words, "Deliver us from evil," the intensity in his voice was palpable, a bolt of force piercing the air. Few noticed. It was a spiritual battle unfolding beneath the veil of the liturgy, where sacred ritual was the weapon itself, and faith the barrier against the unfolding darkness. That experienced priest knew that God's power often works in silence, through rites that the Church truly allows. Donna Beatriz's eyes were red, the veins in her neck bulged, and for a moment it seemed as if a thunderous wail would erupt from her lips. But the priest's silent intervention seemed to drain the strength that afflicted her. The woman trembled one last time with a violent spasm, followed by an abrupt and profound relaxation. It was as if the strange force possessing her had been contained or diminished, exhausted by the sacredness of that setting and the invisible powers invoked there. She let out a deep sigh, her previously pale skin taking on a pinker hue, though her eyes still carried the shadow of pain. Those nearby could have sworn they felt a cold breeze pass through the row of pews at that very moment, a chill that could not be explained. As the Mass drew to a close, Dona Beatriz remained exhausted, but the evil presence had diminished. The priest, with the same calm expression as at the beginning, gave the final blessing, his eyes fixed on the congregation, perhaps seeking assurance that the invisible battle was truly over. The faithful began to disperse, and those who witnessed the strange events exchanged meaningful glances, but no words. No one dared to ask, to mention what they had seen. It was a secret shared in the quiet of conscience. This Mass revealed an aspect of faith that is rarely discussed, the permission and use of a spiritual authority that transcends the formal and public rituals of exorcism. The Church, in its ancient wisdom, recognizes that there are battles fought in secret, in the heart of the sanctuary, and that the power of faith can silence the deepest evil, right there, in the middle of the Mass. The case of Dona Beatriz and the silent exorcism at Mass is a chilling testament to the invisible side of spiritual warfare. Many think these things are old stories or horror movies, but what this story shows us is that evil acts in subtle ways, often in the cracks of everyday life, and that faith and the sacraments are much more powerful shields than we imagine. The Church, in its complexity, has ways of intervening that are not trumpeted in the newspapers, nor even explained in manuals. It is a discreet action, based on a profound knowledge of spiritual realities, using the power God has entrusted to His ministers. This episode forces us to reflect, if something so disturbing can happen during Mass, in what other ways does faith silently protect us in our daily lives, against threats we don't even perceive? Think about it, dear friends. If something so shocking and profound can happen in the silence of Mass, imagine the spiritual battles you, I, our friends, and family face every day, without anyone noticing. This story serves as a powerful reminder that faith is not just about going to church on Sundays. It's a living force that protects us, guides us, and gives us the strength to face our own inner demons, discouragement, anger, temptation, fear. Maintaining faith daily, practicing forgiveness even when it's difficult, seeking inner peace in life's storms, listening more to the sermons that nourish the soul, and being open to life-changing changes, these are our weapons, our silent exorcisms against the evil that surrounds us and tries to lead us astray. We need to shield ourselves. And speaking of protection and care, I ask again that you leave in the comments the names of loved ones who need prayer so they can be included in our main prayer with the Rosary. The power of intercessory prayer is immense. So, this was the story of the silent exorcism that shocked everyone present and revealed a lesser-known side of the Church. What did you think of all this? Have you ever experienced or know of a similar story, an event that made you feel a strange, invisible, but real force? Leave your sincere comment below. I'd love to hear your opinion and your experiences. Your participation is very important to us. And if this story touched you, made you think, or gave you chills, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and, of course, turn on the notification bell. That way, you won't miss any of our upcoming shocking and revealing videos, posted weekly, with stories that will open your eyes to the world of faith and mystery. Thank you very much, and may God bless you.